Welcome to Kerah Speaks, where the truth runs deep. Faithful, healed, and free. Real talk, real growth. Let the Spirit speak. Stories that set you free. Becoming who you're meant to be. Welcome to the conversation. Kerah Speaks.
You think people really be sitting there thinking about how they did you wrong? They don't. They don't. Listen, I'm here to tell you some hard truth today. Some hard truth that I had to understand myself. But before we get into all of that, you already know what I need y'all to do, the preliminaries. Go ahead and like the channel or like the video, subscribe to the channel, all of that good stuff, because we really about to get into some things today, okay? Also, go to my website, kerahspeaks.com. Get my book, Healing Cost Me Everything, as well as my merch. Okay, let's go ahead and get into it. And I hope your ears ready. I hope your ears ready. I hope your eyes are ready. I pray that the Heavenly Father open your hearts and minds to receive it, because I'm about to give you some real stuff today. Okay, I'm gonna give you some real stuff because you need to hear it. Okay, everybody that does you wrong, don't sit there and think about it. They don't, not in the way that you think they do. You think because, oh, I'm a good person. I sit here and I would think about how I did somebody wrong. And I'm gonna use me for example, right? Because I don't want to tell y'all who y'all are. Here on Kerah Speaks, we allow people to tell their own story. So I'm gonna tell my own story here. When it is one of my worst fears to think that I have done something to someone in a way that completely alters their brain chemistry and impacts them in a way that they don't even show up the same way in life again because I've hurt them so much. Those are the things I think about. I don't think at the surface level of things. I think about how my actions can impact people long term, but everybody doesn't do that. Do you know that there are people in this world who leave a trail of trauma to every person that they meet? Every person that they come in connection with, they are leaving trauma behind because of how they show up in those relationships. Again, they're not bad people, they're good people. Some of them are believers. They really have a deep desire to do good and be good for people, and they love deeply, but they are leaving behind hurt and chaos with every person that they encounter because they're hurt. People who love deeply and who are genuine come in contact with these type of people, and they leave worse than when they met them. There are people who do that because of one reason or another. Some people refuse to change. They are aware of their behaviors and refuse to change. And some people just hadn't got to the point where they have recognized what they're doing so they can stop hurting others. A lot of people are just operating in their patterns and they just don't know how to come out of it. And some people are in therapy doing these things. So that's why I say people don't reflect in the way that you think. Some people are simply operating in the only way that they know how. This is all they know. Some of us have been connected to people who have changed the way we see. They have changed our perception and our perspective. I have been connected to people who have impacted me in a way that I will never be the same. And I ain't trying to be dramatic when I say that. When I say I'll never be the same, I'm talking about because of the clarity that I've gained from it, the closer that I've gotten to my faith. But also there are some negatives, or I can't even say that they're necessarily negatives, but I don't view friendship the same anymore. I don't view relationships the same. I don't view women the same. Me, I'm a girl's girl. Can't no woman do no wrong. In fact, I support women's rights and wrongs. Women can't do no wrong. I was quite naive when it comes to the behavior of women in friendships. I thought everybody loved each other. Ain't no shade. If you say you my friend, you mean it. If you say you love me, you mean it. If you loyal, you mean it. Right? If you say that we're sisters or whatever, you mean it, right? very naive. But I've changed my mindset. My boundaries have changed. There are a lot of lessons that I learned. There are because of those connections, I will be taking lessons from that for the rest of my life. I am not necessarily cautious, but I definitely lean more on my discernment when I meet new people because I don't want to experience what I experienced before. So I am completely changed because of that connection. And I think about how I show up for other people. I think about what am I doing? Am I causing this person trauma? And I understand that some people don't realize in the moment that that's what they're doing. A lot of people are operating from their patterns, they're operating from their trauma, and people don't mean to hurt us. I'm not saying that people hurt us, on purpose and they're trying to cause us trauma. A lot of times, the way people are showing up for us, it has nothing to do with us at all. It is based on them and who they are. But at the same time, we have to be cognizant and we have to be mindful at how we do life with each other. And for me, I think about that. So I expect other people to think about that. And you might be that person too. You might be a caring and generous person. You always trying to think about, I don't want to hurt this person. And you think that when a relationship ends, even if you are the person that was hurt, you think about when the relationship ends, how did I contribute to this? What did I do to them? Could I have done something better? Those are the type of reflections that happens when a person can think outside of themselves. And of course, you we can project our generosity and we can project our empathy onto other people because we feel like because I'm like that, everybody's like that, but it's not. And I want to say, like I said, people don't do it on purpose, and it's not because people are bad people. I think, and this is just my opinion. Again, I'm not a licensed psychologist. This is just my personal observation, and this is just some hard truths that I had to learn during therapy and after therapy. Is that everybody does not sit and think about how they did you wrong. Everybody does not sit and think about the impact that they cause. Everybody is not going to get their karma. People have a very difficult time sitting with accountability. That's why they don't sit back and reflect on what they did. If anything, they reflect on how the relationship ended, but they shifted to make it less than what it is. If they're the person that caused hurt or if they contributed to hurt, they're going to justify it in some type of way. They're going to say, "Oh, well, we both hurt each other or they hurt me." Or things just didn't work out, that if two people just drift apart, they'll say make statements like that because in that provides them comfort. That's how they cope. Because if they take accountability, if they sit with the simple thought that, uh-oh, I might have greatly contributed to this person's hurt, that might have impacted them and hurt them deeply. Sometimes that is extremely overwhelming for people. Because what's the worst thing that could happen if you admit that you might have contributed greatly to somebody's hurt, to somebody's trauma? You ain't gonna die. You're not going to perish simply because you say, you know what? I did hurt this person. And I probably hurt them for a long time. They are probably going to have to heal from this for a long time. What is wrong with saying that? It's not going to kill you to admit that. Because here's the thing, when you can admit that, yeah, what I did was really messed up and it was painful, it was hurtful, and they didn't deserve that. And I was wrong. And I wasn't operating from my best self. And I'm not proud of that. What's wrong with that? When you can say stuff like that, it allows you to verbalize it and then you can grow from it. Because those are experiences that you can pull from, even if it's negative. You can pull from those experiences and get lessons from it and not show up like that for the next person. But people are so afraid to say I was wrong because it don't feel good to say that you're wrong. It doesn't feel good. Everybody want to be right. Everybody got so much ego. Don't nobody want to say it's my fault too. And when I talk about my personal experience in friendship, I I caused hurt too. I did too. I didn't communicate. There are ways I didn't show up in my best self. I talked about people behind their back. I did all of the things. All of the things. But guess what? I don't anymore. I don't anymore. And the reason why I don't anymore is because I can admit where I have made mistakes. I can admit that today. But that took a lot of work. I'm not afraid to sit in that. I'm not afraid to sit in accountability. I'm not afraid to sit down and listen to somebody tell me how I've hurt them because I genuinely care and I want to do things differently. The entire time while I was in therapy, I was telling her, like, I'm intentional about this. Tell me where I was wrong. Tell me where I made missteps or help me recognize where I made missteps so I can do things differently. Ain't that what life is all about? Isn't that the point of doing this thing? Isn't that the point of therapy? Isn't that the point of life? Isn't that the point of faith and believing is to be better than who we were, be who the Father really wants us to be? Isn't that the whole point? So why can't you just say, yeah, I contributed to that? Because it doesn't mean that you're a bad person. You can make mistakes. It's a misstep. That's the grace of the Father that allows us to get back on the right path. When you have harmed your brother or sister, your spouse, whoever, especially if you're a parent. And this episode is also for parents because a lot of parents, they especially black parents, cannot admit that you made a mistake in raising your child. But that's a whole different subject. But we talking specifically about personal relationships. But this does apply to parenting, to taking accountability and admitting that you made a mistake. So if it don't apply, let it fly. But hey, that's it. It applies here as well. It is extremely overwhelming for people to sit with that kind of hurt because they are afraid of what that means about them. Because it might mean I'm a bad parent, I'm a bad partner, I'm a bad friend, and the worst one of all, I'm a bad person. And so people won't feel those things. They shift and they create a narrative in their mind that says either this person deserves it or it's not as bad as it really is. And that's what people do. That is human behavior. That doesn't mean that people are terrible, evil people who don't care about you. And I want to make that clear. Just when I'm saying that people are not thinking about how they did you wrong, I'm not saying that people don't sit and reflect on somebody that they have cared about and things may have ended in a way and they might know consciously that I probably did hurt them, but they don't understand the depths of the impact. They don't sit and reflect with that. Not everybody. I'm not Some people do. Okay, I want to say that some people do because I know nuance is a thing. People want to argue with every little thing that you say. I'm specifically talking about the people who don't sit and reflect because they have created a narrative, right? That's what I'm talking about. And so for you, if you are that person who has been hurt and who has been forever changed, my advice to you, or not even necessarily advice, I'm going to speak from experience because I don't want to give no advice over here because I'm not a therapist, okay? If you need a therapist, call that lady. But in my experience, what I had to come to understand is that it's not about whether they reflect or not. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I used to sit and wonder, especially when something ended, like, did I matter to them? Like, did I really matter? Like, the way that it ended is like, they don't even really care. And then you try to shift the narrative in your mind, like, oh, they'll care one day. Oh, they're going to sit and reflect. They're going to miss me when I'm gone. You might not say that, but subconsciously you think that. I don't care what it is. It's friendship, relationship, especially women. We think we're the best thing ever when a man, don't choose us. Oh, he ain't going to find nothing better than me. He might. He might, and not even necessarily better, but more aligned with him. That friend might find friends that's more aligned with them. And that's okay. It don't mean nothing wrong with you. It don't mean that you're inadequate. It don't mean that you weren't enough. It just means that they ain't meant to be in your story. So, it's not about what they do anyway. It's about you. It's about you to reflect. Even if they don't reflect, you reflect. You reflect on, let me think. How did this affect me? What things really hurt me? Let me explore that. Let me unpack that. Let me figure out how I can show up better for myself in the future. Let me figure out how I can choose better in the future so I don't experience this again. And then again, you might experience hurt again. But the great thing about life are the lessons and experiences, because when we go through things, we take a little bit from each experience in our life and we can apply it to the next situation so we can learn how to handle it better. You understand? And so what I am learning, that it doesn't matter what the other person is thinking. It doesn't matter if they reflect. It does I don't even need them to reflect. The only thing that matters to me is making sure that I am showing up better than what I did yesterday, making sure that the mistakes that I made in previous friendships, in previous relationships, that I learned from them, that I'm growing from them, and that I got clarity from it. That's it. Make sure that I reflect and that I don't cause the same hurt that was applied to me to anybody else. That's all that matters at the end of the day. You don't need people to reflect for your experience to be valid. You don't need them to say, I'm sorry. You don't need them to say, I did this person wrong. You don't need them to validate your experience because it is your experience. If you felt like you were manipulated, that is your feelings. Nobody can tell you what you feel. They might have a totally different experience about what happened, but that is not your business. It is not you don't need that person to recognize anything. You need to recognize it within yourself. What do you feel today? Figure that out. Don't worry about what's going on in nobody else's mind, because you can't control that. You can't control it. You can only control what's going on with you. So that's all I got for y'all today. This is a short video, but I felt like it was impactful enough because these are my experiences. These are things that I have learned after completing therapy, and still going through the process. There are so many things I have healed from, and even with healing, you continue to learn. The work don't stop. I've healed from things, and yet I am healing from so many things because this is 40 years. Okay. It ain't just one friendship, one relationship. This is my whole life that I've had to process and heal from. Okay. And it's things I'm learning, things I'm going to continue to learn. And the things I continue to learn, I'm going to come on here and share with y'all. The work don't stop just because I completed therapy. Okay. And I'm not perfect at all by no shot at all. But I'm better than who I used to be. And I thank Yahweh for that. If you want to go ahead and leave me a comment, tell me your experience, tell me what you learning about yourself. Tell me what you letting go of. That's what I want to know. Put in the comments. What are you letting go of? What are you releasing? What are you surrendering to? Okay. I'll see y'all next time right here on Kerah Speaks, living faithful, healed, and free.
Follow this podcast and connect with me at kerahspeaks.com and subscribe to my YouTube channel at Kerah Speaks.